trying to keep up with India's economy, it can feel like a puzzle sometimes, right? You hear bits and pieces, but getting a clear picture of which states are really driving the growth, well, that can be tricky.
Absolutely. It's such a complex landscape.
So today we're doing a deep dive, focusing on the top 10 richest states in India, looking ahead to 2025. But we're not just listing them, we're going deeper. What makes these states economic powerhouses? What's the story behind their success? And what does it tell us about India's overall growth?
You've shared some really interesting data with us. Articles, reports, the works.
And we've really dug into it. We want to give you a clear and insightful overview of what's happening.
Exactly. This deep dive zeroes in on the 10 states projected to have the highest gross state domestic product, or GSDP, in 2025. Now, GSDP, think of it as the total value of everything produced within a state, all the goods and services combined. It's a big picture measure of a state's economic strength.
Right, and we hear a lot about GDP per capita too, but those are different things, right?
Definitely. GDP per capita looks at the average economic output per person. So you could have a smaller state, highly specialized, with a high GDP per capita. Their average income might be high, but their overall contribution to the economy, their GSDP, could be smaller compared to a larger state.
Makes sense. We're focusing on where the biggest economic activity is concentrated in India, those big players.
Exactly. And, past conversations might have highlighted states like Haryana or Punjab for specific economic strengths. But when you look at the overall picture, the projected GSDP for 2025, the consistent leaders are Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Gujarat, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. Those are the heavy hitters.
So there you have it, the top 10. Based on pure economic output. Let's start with the one at the top, Maharashtra. Always a strong performer, and 2025 looks no different. Why is that? What's driving their continued dominance?
Maharashtra is fascinating. They've got this dual-engine approach. On one side, you have Mumbai, the financial and services hub.
Right, the nation's financial capital.
It's a magnet for investment, hosts major institutions, the Bombay Stock Exchange. That generates a tremendous amount of wealth.
But it's not just finance, right? They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
No, not at all. They've also got a massive industrial and manufacturing base.
I mean, you think of Maharashtra and you think Bollywood, right?
Yeah.
That entertainment industry is huge.
Huge is right. Textiles, manufacturing, it's incredibly diverse. That's a big part of their strength.
Absolutely. A well-rounded economic profile. Okay, let's move south to Tamil Nadu, another powerhouse. They've really transformed themselves into an industrial force. How have they done that?
Advanced manufacturing, for one, and a rapidly growing IT services sector. It's a powerful combination.
And they're attracting major global manufacturers, big multinational companies across all sorts of sectors. What's the draw? Why are those companies choosing Tamil Nadu?
A few reasons. Their policies are very business-friendly. They've created an environment that welcomes investment. But I think even more importantly, especially for these big global companies, they offer stability.
You mean like political stability?
That too, but also effective governance, good crisis management, strong investor protections, predictability, That's gold for risk-averse companies.
Right. They're not just chasing low cost. They need to know their investments are safe.
Exactly.
Now, Tamil Nadu also has a strong presence in more labor-intensive industries.
Yeah.
How does that fit into the picture?
It shows their range. They're not just focusing on high-tech. They're also leveraging their workforce in sectors that need more manual labor.
Interesting.
And it's worth noting, a high proportion of women are employed in factory settings there. Some reports say around 40%.
Wow, that's significant. So they're creating a wide range of opportunities. And I imagine all of that needs a strong foundation, education, infrastructure, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Tamil Nadu has invested heavily in education, particularly technical fields. They're producing a lot of skilled engineering graduates.
Who then go on to work in those high-tech industries.
Exactly. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. Education fuels the industries attract more investment, and so on.
Now, let's talk about Uttar Pradesh. UP. Massive population.
Massive.
High GSDP overall. But their per capita income is lower compared to some of these other states. What explains that?
Well, the size of their population is a big factor. When you divide the economic output by that many people, the average is going to be lower. Historically, they've been heavily reliant on agriculture.
Okay.
But we're seeing a shift. They're developing industrial corridors, investing in infrastructure to attract more manufacturing and service businesses.
So they're trying to diversify.
Exactly. And the government is playing a big role. targeted investments, policy reforms to make it easier to do business there.
It's a state with a lot of potential. Okay, let's move on to Karnataka. The tech hub of India, right?
Yeah.
Bengaluru.
India's Silicon Valley.
What's driving their economic engine?
IT and biotechnology, primarily. Bengaluru has become this global center for those sectors, attracting huge amounts of foreign investment. Aerospace is another growing area. It's a hotbed of innovation.
But it's not just about the companies that are there, right? What makes it such fertile ground for those industries?
Their education system, they've got top-tier universities, a really strong startup culture. It's an environment where talent is nurtured, innovation is encouraged, and new ventures are constantly popping up.
So it attracts even more investment.
Exactly. It's a virtuous cycle.
Let's talk about Gujarat. They've really built a reputation for being business-friendly.
Very much so. They've made a conscious effort to attract investors. Initiatives like the Vibrant Gujarat Summits, the development of special economic zones like Gift City, they've been really effective.
And their infrastructure plays a big role, right? Their ports, in particular.
Huge role. Their ports are very efficient, handling a lot of India's international trade. Exports are a major part of their economy. And they've diversified, too. Petrochemicals, textiles, pharmaceuticals, even gems and jewelry.
It sounds like they've had a clear vision and they've executed it well. Okay, let's move on to West Bengal, a state with a rich history, a cultural center in eastern India. What's driving their economy today?
Location is a big advantage for them. They're a gateway to the northeastern states, and they border several international markets.
Right, a strategic location.
Their economy is diverse. Agriculture is significant. They have established manufacturing industries like jute, tea, and textiles, and their service sector is growing, especially in Kolkata.
Okay, so a mix of traditional industries and newer sectors. Interesting. Now, what about Rajasthan, India's largest state in terms of land area?
Rajasthan has a lot going for it. Their tourism industry is a major economic driver. They attract both domestic and international visitors. And they have a lot of natural resources. Mining and agriculture are significant.
Right, I was going to say, they're known for their natural beauty.
Exactly. And they're investing in infrastructure, specifically targeting the industrial and tourism sectors. Their sheer size also contributes to their overall economic output.
Okay, let's move to Telangana, a relatively new state, but they've quickly become a major player, especially in tech and pharmaceuticals.
Hyderabad is a key factor. It's become a major IT center, rivaling Bengaluru in many ways. And Telangana has also developed a strong ecosystem for research and development in biotech and pharma.
So they're focusing on those high-growth sectors.
Very much so. And the state government has been proactive in attracting investment and streamlining regulations.
It's paying off. Now, what about Andhra Pradesh? They've got that long coastline, and I've heard they're focusing on infrastructure and renewable energy.
They are. They're leveraging their coastline through projects like the Visakhapatnam-Chennai Industrial Corridor. They want to become a major manufacturing and logistics hub.
Makes sense.
And their investments in green energy are significant. They're working to enhance their industrial capabilities and attract more foreign investment.
So they're building for the future. Okay, last but not least, Madhya Pradesh, often called the heart of India, traditionally known for agriculture, but I imagine things are changing there too.
They are. It's a gradual process, but they're diversifying. Agriculture is still important, but manufacturing and services are growing. Their central location is an advantage, and they're working to improve infrastructure and attract investment.
So a more balanced growth strategy. Okay, so we've covered all 10 states. It's amazing to see the diversity, all the different approaches they're taking. Now, I know you mentioned at the beginning that you might see slightly different rankings depending on where you look. Why is that?
It mainly comes down to the metrics being used. GSDP, which we've been talking about, measures total output. But GDP per capita looks at the average wealth per person. So a large state like Maharashtra will almost always rank high in GSDP just because of its sheer size. But a smaller state with a lot of wealth concentrated in a specific area might have a higher GDP per capita.
Okay, so it's two different ways of looking at the same thing. Are there other factors that can affect these rankings?
Definitely. The data sources matter. Different organizations might use slightly different methodologies, different timeframes, and so on.
Right, and some analyses might emphasize certain factors over others.
Exactly. A report focusing on manufacturing might highlight Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. A report focused on infrastructure might put Gujarat higher. It all depends on the perspective.
So it's important to understand the context. Now, stepping back, looking at all 10 states together, are there any common threads, any key drivers of success that they all share?
Absolutely. One is diversification. None of these states are relying on a single industry. They've got a healthy mix, which makes them more resilient.
Right, not putting all their eggs in one basket. What else?
Infrastructure is huge. They're all investing in infrastructure, whether it's ports, industrial corridors, or something else. It boosts productivity, facilitates trade, attracts investment.
And we've talked a lot about creating a business-friendly environment.
Yeah, states like Tamil Nadu and Gujarat have really focused on that. Streamlining regulations, minimizing risk for investors, it makes a big difference.
And what about the people? Does education play a role?
Huge role. A skilled workforce is essential, especially for those high-growth sectors like IT and biotech. States like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu have strong education systems, and it shows.
Right, they're investing in human capital.
Hmm.
And finally, I imagine being globally connected is important too.
Absolutely. Integrating into global supply chains, focusing on exports, that all contributes to their growth.
So to sum it all up, our deep dive into the top 10 richest states in India projected for 2025. Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Gujarat, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. A diverse group, but they all share some key ingredients for success: diversification, infrastructure, business-friendly policies, a skilled workforce, and global engagement.
It paints a really interesting picture of India's economic landscape. It's dynamic, it's complex, and it's full of potential.
It certainly gives us a lot to think about. Looking ahead, what do you think? What are the potential shifts we might see in India's economic map? Which states might surprise us in the coming years?